So today I'm going to share with you M1 Finance versus Robinhood and which investing app might be the right one for you. Now, in case you're new here, my name is Dennis and I love talking about financial apps and services that really help you build wealth. And let's go ahead and break these apps down to figure out which one you might want to get started with. Now, when we go over these two different apps, we're going to kind of go over some examples of the pros and cons of each one. Now, to kind of break things down pretty quickly, M1 Finance is really for those long-term investors that want to kind of set everything up and then kind of put everything on autopilot. Although, as a user myself, I still love going through the app on a daily basis, but it is great for those who just want to set and forget and let the system kind of do its thing. Now, Robinhood, on the other hand, is really for those type of investors that really want a hands-on experience and have interaction on a day-to-day basis with their investing portfolio. Now, as far as costs when it comes to using these systems, they're both entirely free, which is so fantastic. It doesn't cost you anything to buy and sell into different stocks or ETFs, which is always a great thing. And of course, like I just mentioned, both of them do stocks and ETFs. Although when it comes to bonds, Robinhood only does bond ETFs, where on M1 Finance, you can actually invest into individual bonds if you so chose to. Now, when it comes to the different types of accounts you can have, Robinhood is a little bit lacking in this area where you can do, of course, the taxable investment account, but kind of just caters to that area where M1 Finance actually gives you the ability to not only do the taxable account, but you could also do an IRA, a rollover IRA, a Roth IRA, or a SEP IRA if you are a small business user. Now, the really great thing with M1 Finance is you can actually have multiple investing accounts under one app. So if you wanted to have your Roth IRA as well as a taxable account, you can have them both and toggle between the two different portfolios. So that's always a really nice thing too. Now, when it comes to getting started with these apps, Robinhood is essentially free. Of course, if you sign up with anybody's referral link, you do typically get a free stock, which I'll have one in the show notes down below for you. And then with M1 Finance, if you start a taxable account, it is just $100 to get started, which honestly is just a great amount to really start testing out the service and seeing what it's all about. And I'll have their link in the show notes down below where you can also just get started. Now, if you are somebody who doesn't have a lot of money to really start investing into the stock market, a lot of the different stocks that are out there or even ETFs can get really costly when it comes to their overall price. But the great thing is M1 Finance already has what they call fractional shares, which means that you can start putting your money in and it'll start working for you right away. Robinhood, on the other hand, does have fractional shares out, but not currently available to every single user. So if you sign up with the process on Robinhood, you might not instantaneously have fractional shares, although they are planning a full rollout in the near future. Now, both investing apps also do what they call a DRIP program, but they both work a little bit different. And if you're not familiar with DRIP, it stands for Dividend Reinvestment Program. Now, with Robinhood, the way this works is you can actually have your dividends reinvested into the companies that paid them out. So as an example, if you got paid out from Apple, you can actually have that money get reinvested into the company automatically the very next day after getting paid out. On M1 Finance, when you get paid out dividends, those automatic reinvestments don't happen until you hit a dollar threshold over $25 into your overall account, whether that was from dividends or just money sitting in your account. But once that gets deposited and automatically over 25, that money will get pushed into your overall portfolio, not necessarily the company that paid out that dividend, which could be a pro or a con depending on the type of investor you are. So one great feature that M1 Finance has over Robinhood is a system called Expert Pies. So if you're someone who doesn't really know how to do the proper research when it comes to buying individual companies or even ETFs, M1 Finance really helps you get started by picking out based off of your certain types of preferences. They have it for somebody who's maybe a little aggressive, maybe somebody who wants to really focus in on income, or even somebody that wants to really kind of go for it when it comes to gaining a lot of growth on their portfolio. So those expert pies really get you started so you can have a foot in the door when it comes to investing, and you can always change those up as you move along. Now, Robinhood does not have a feature like that. It really is kind of a place where it sets you up for you to do your own research and pick out your own companies. They do give out suggestions based off of other users' preferences, but it is all based on you to be able to pick those different stocks. Now, when it comes to being able to buy into the market, this is where Robinhood probably has a better foothold for those day-to-day investors, because you could be buying into the market at any given time, as well as having different types of ways to invest, whether you want to invest during the market time, have a limit order, have a stop order, whatever you want to do, Robinhood has every single feature of those available. Where on M1 Finance, they're a little bit more backed up as far as how you can place your orders, because they allow you to do pretty much one order every single day, and it takes place in the early morning when the market first opens. This might seem like a complete con for some people, which it can be, but for a lot of investors, as I mentioned, they're kind of like a set and forget system where you don't really have to worry about buying and timing the market. It is all about just putting money into the market, which is actually kind of a pro to a lot of people who don't want to really think about it on a day-to-day basis. Now, one thing with M1 Finance is if you have their paid membership, you can actually also get a second time during the day to be able to invest or even sell out of. So something to keep in mind if you are what they call an M1 Finance Plus member. Now with M1 Finance, to have it invest automatically for you, you do need $25 minimum, but if it's anything less than that, you can actually manually invest if you would like, but that $25 is required for auto investing. With Robinhood, you can invest at any point as long as you have the right dollar amount to buy into those individual stocks. Now, when it comes to fees on M1 Finance or Robinhood, both of them have 0 fees. So there are no costs to being able to have these accounts, whether you're using them on a daily basis or kind of forget about them and have them just sitting on your phone as far as apps go. So you don't have to worry about any costs being accrued, whether you're using it or not, or trading that day or not trading that day. So all the costs are 0 across the board when it comes to trading. Now, both M1 Finance and Robinhood, of course, have apps that you can download on Android and iOS, as well as having web portals for you to be able to go through on desktop. Now, from both systems, I personally believe that M1 Finance has a little bit more of a robust system when it comes to the web browser. And then as far as user interface, I think Robinhood might take the cake on this area, where it's a little bit easier to use. Because when it comes to M1 Finance and building out your portfolio, it is a little bit more cumbersome, but I promise you that if you learn the system and how to use it, it actually becomes a very nice system to be able to understand your portfolio and how you're performing as a whole. So as far as having money deposited into your account, Robinhood has a feature where it essentially gives you up to $1,000 to have instant money to be able to buy and sell into different stocks. Now, with this feature, it essentially gives you that money right away while it still pulls money from your bank account. So it might still take 2 to 3 business days to have that money go away from your bank and actually officially get into the Robinhood app, but they give you that credit to essentially get into different stocks and ETFs as quickly as possible. So when it comes to M1, when you make a deposit for a trade the next day, that money will automatically be available to be used. And just like Robinhood, it'll take about 2 to 3 business days to officially pull from your bank account. So they both actually give you access to money a little bit sooner than it normally would be because of how long it takes money to get transferred from a bank into a different investing app. So those are really nice features because that means your money is going to start working for you faster rather than having to wait for all that transfer to go through from your bank. Now, both Robinhood and M1 Finance do have additional paid services if you wanted to, where you can pay a little bit more and you get some additional features on each one. We won't be talking about them here today because they are a little bit more in depth and for those who actually really love using those individual platforms. So you can always look into those different features and details once you start really enjoying that individual platform that you end up choosing. Now, one feature that M1 Finance has as well, once you have an account over $10,000, is the ability to be able to borrow money pretty instantly. And of course, it will go against your actual account. So just something to keep in mind, but it is going to be a feature available for you once you hit that threshold. And the nice thing about that M1 Borrow is that you can use that money to either invest more, which I'd be cautious with, or you can use that money for something else, whether it's to pay off some debt or to buy something that you need with that kind of funds. So M1 Borrow is another feature that is available for someone depending on the threshold on your account. Now, as far as which one is going to be the better option, like I mentioned earlier, they are really made for 2 different types of investors. If you're somebody who really wants the day-to-day being able to trade at any given time, Robinhood might be the one for you. But for me personally, I love M1 Finance a lot more across the board. It's actually where I mainly keep a lot of my investing onto that platform just because of what I can do with it, how I can build my structure of investing with different sectors and being able to understand how each one is doing, as well as being able to see my dividends getting reinvested across the board and having a really good understanding of how I'm growing my money on a day-to-day basis. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna have a link to both of them in the show notes down below. If you wanna test them both out, you're definitely more than welcome to. But if you decide to go with M1 Finance, I want you to check out my tutorial playlist right here so you can have a full understanding of how to best utilize this app. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in that next video.